safety and all that kind of thing. There's only 3 or 4 basic things, but we wanted to have a list for them. And most majority of the candidates endorsed our platform because we went through a whole process of creating it. Then that was in 2000. And then the Alliance has been involved in keeping the boundaries of the several neighborhoods to try to keep District 6 together, because you lose your borders because there's so many people here. And so the same thing, one of my sister groups is next door, and next door was the four census tracts were north of Market, which is the Tenderloin, and Union Square and some of the other surrounding neighborhoods wanted a piece of the action because it was too big. But the thing was, that's really the Tenderloin. So we weren't big. We just didn't. They just wanted more of our action. They wanted to take the condos and the business people over at Union Square. But that's fine because it didn't affect the numbers. So I have to daily monitor an actual entity that has a current database for the Tenderloin, 1,300 subscribers, and that's 7 years of my time. Plus the fact that I'm the former editorial board member for the neighborhood newspaper, and it died in 2017, and that was around for 17 years. It came down to finances because it was a nonprofit, and as you must be aware, but most of the media outlets became now internet, and that's no money maker for a nonprofit, and so we had to eventually do our last issue. And so I know all these people in the community because of the fact that I've been working with them and making sure they had got into the neighborhood newspaper. One of the sections that I put in to the newspaper, I said that people that pass away in our buildings have memorials, and those names need to be honored because we have memorials, and we have ministers that come into the buildings to have the ceremonies. And I said the reporter has to go, and so they got awards for doing something. It's kind of a human interest thing. And it's the only time maybe those individuals got put into and then the book was published by the publisher, whatever it was called, but it listed all that they put into the book, a memorial of people that passed away as for a tribute. And some of them were former members.
And to that end, we've been doing outreach. We've held community meetings in over 45 buildings in the Tenderloin. We've talked with 800 residents that way. We also held a Tenderloin People Summit, which was attended by nearly 200 people. And altogether, we talked with over 1,000 residents about this plan to gather feedback on solutions that they would like to see for the Tenderloin. These meetings were not about the problems of the Tenderloin, they were about the solutions for the Tenderloin and imagining what we would like the Tenderloin to look like 20, 30 years from now. The long-term goal is, of course, to update the Tenderloin 2000 plan with a brand new one, the Vision 2020 plan and beyond, 2020 and beyond. And we have already started that process. In the short term, we've created a Tenderloin People's Congress platform. It's called the People's Platform. It's 11 pages worth of solutions, not problems, but solutions to some of the challenges that face the community. And so it's a pretty lengthy document. We did the resident outreach, now we're doing the stakeholder outreach. We're going around to all of the other stakeholders in the community, that being service providers, businesses, nonprofits, groups like this, although you're already a member of the People's Congress, and business owners, property owners, etc. And we're doing meetings with those other community groups, other organizations, other executives and staff, and even doing one-on-one meetings with business owners and property owners, etc. So that we can present them with what the residents have come up with and what the residents would like to see for themselves. And as well as with city agencies. We're now meeting with them. We have a planned meeting coming up with all three of we have a scheduled roundtable forum with all three of the candidates to present the people's platform with each one of them. It's a closed meeting, it's not a public meeting, but we're going to present and have a conversation with them and see where they land on this. There will be another opportunity later for a more public meeting with them about it. But first, we're going to meet with them privately, just to see where they're at and to make sure they understand what we're asking for, as well as the mayor. We have an appointment with the mayor. So things have been moving along pretty quickly. Microsoft just kicked in another $10,000 for the project. TL HIP kicked in about 40 grand, and we got another TL HIP and Microsoft, as well as there's one of the items in our platform, which is a participatory budgeting process for the Tenderloin. It was one of our asks, one of the things that came out of the outreach.
Can you tell us the total that you received?
I don't have the total amount. I don't know.
Because my concern was that these are all tech
Microsoft was $10,000.
Yeah, but these were all tech companies through the CAC? You know, the grants through the CAC?
No, this was a direct donation from Microsoft to the nonprofit.
But it didn't go through the
No.
okay.
No.
I wonder how functional that was.
Mhm.
Okay,
So it's unrestricted funds directly from Microsoft.
that's right.
Yeah.
You need to be funded, so.
Of course.
My question is.
Well, we're not to questions yet, Michael. I'm going to finish the presentation. Thank you.
I didn't know that.
Well, I'm not a pushover. So the next thing is we really are going out. We're trying to get feedback from the rest of the stakeholders, but really this is more about finding buy-in from them. We've also had a meeting and we've narrowed down, including a representative from the D6CP, to identify some priorities that we're just going to use as sort of a outreach tool as we're going around to the stakeholders. We've identified 9 items that we think we should move forward with right away, that we have a lot of momentum around and there's interest in doing, and that we think are doable within 18 months or so. And so, this is, which we're just calling the priorities. So these are just the 9 priorities, but as I said, there's nearly 11 pages worth of actual solutions that really spell out a more comprehensive plan for the neighborhood. These are just some action items that we thought we should move forward with right away, just so we can have something to have conversation with. We want to bring some folks that have resources in on the movement. I will say, just because something's not in this list out of the bigger platform doesn't mean that we don't consider it a priority. There is a lot in the big plan. I don't have a copy of that here today, but there's a lot in there. There's a lot, but it makes a very comprehensive sort of platform. And I think that there's some really creative and new solutions in there that in the large platform, stuff that came out of the resident outreach that was really creative and unique. And it's kind of a tribute to the genius that can be found in the residents of the Tenderloin. So I'm really impressed with the work that folks did. This just tells a little bit of what I've just been telling you about. So this is the intro letter, and it just explains a little bit about the process that we've used and for doing the outreach and how we got to where we're at. So I'm going to be going around doing presentations with the full platform. And so to do that, if you're interested in having me present the full platform, we'll need, it takes about 45 minutes to an hour to go through it all. So I would want to set a date for that if we can.
We can do a executive meeting
Later.
to do it maybe the end of the month to take care of all that.
Okay, cool. And if you know of any other organizations that might be interested in having a presentation, just let me know and I will put you on the list. We have a big list already. We've got essentially, there's a list of 60 organizations that we're doing outreach to.
Can you give an example? What?
Everything from business owners, property owners,
I know.
nonprofit supervisors. So Group I, Tidewater Capital, Joy O.
That's new. They've been around. Yeah,
I didn't say they're new, they weren't new. I'm talking about we're going to the stakeholders in the community
No,
and,
I
and,
didn't know
and,
you said some new ones, so I wasn't.
no, as I said, we got a list of 60 different organizations at the Tenderloin that we're planning on presenting to in the next 3 months.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So it's a pretty aggressive schedule, but we've got 3 different outreach teams trained to go do that. And I really, but again, the platform is just the beginning. It's actually the launching pad. The bigger project is creating the new Tenderloin area plan, which will become part of the planning code. And we will have that done in the next couple of years. We've already gotten a lot of support from planning and from the city around it. There's all the candidates for the District 6 have already chimed in and supported this plan and our work to do that. And we've got a lot of people kicking in resources because I think that folks are really excited about the Tenderloin actually creating its own vision for itself. So now I will take any questions you have, but like I said, there's going to be a whole outreach phase. So if you want to see the big plan, come to one of those meetings.
About 10 minutes. For the questions and answers.
Okay, thank you. Richard?
I just want to give a lot of props for all the work that Curtis is doing with so many people, thinking about all these things that helps us to establish our footing and become more community minded. I want to appreciate him. Also, Milty in the back and Marvin's here with all his wonderful information. He always chock full of information. He helps us out and helps us understand what's going on. And also Dennis. Just want to give props to do. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, some of these look like they're going to have pass the board where supervisors become, I can't say laws, but some things are going to change certain ordinances.
Right. So there are some stuff that will require legislation. There are some things that will certainly require other changes. So none of these are just like actionable items, but what's not laid out here, of course, is the steps necessary to get it done. But yeah, there is like a strategic plan around it, but these are just like identifying, these are the things we want to do. Now we just got to get the partners and get the pieces moving to get them done. Right. Including some income, like you said, in some cases it will require legislation.
Have you thought about when you're going to approach planning? If you need to change any code, you have to go through the commission.
Right. So one of the requests is we are actually requesting and we're getting a positive response so far, although the details haven't been worked out. We're requesting for a staff person from planning to be assigned to work with us on an ongoing basis over the next couple of years so that to help us craft the area plan, recognizing that clearly there's some specialized knowledge and information that we may or may not have and that they could provide. So
Yeah. The other question I had is on, as you know, the Tenderloin 2000 plan is broken down into parts. Are you looking at a similar type or more of a more simple?
no, it's actually divided into 6 categories. We've already, like the platform's already divided into 6 categories, and I think that as we move forward, the plan will probably resemble a format very similar to the vision, or to the Tenderloin 2000 plan, the final version. In fact, I'm hoping to, as we get further along, to in each of those categories, actually have a group of people working on just that category, right? Like so they can really dig deeper into it.
Just, it's not criticism, it's just that when you give us a piece of paper, anybody in the piece of paper, there's no contact information, like an email address, and there's
a very simple, minimalistic aesthetic. The stores, as you may see by the renderings both on the outside and the inside, it's also inspired by a very minimalistic, simplistic, very urban, less is more aesthetic that sort of reflects what the brand is all about. So we're here talking to the neighborhood because they have more than 11 stores, which is the magic number in San Francisco to go through the formula retail approval process with the Planning Commission at 2 stores above that number. So because there's an application with the city, the planning commissioners always like to know that we've been reaching out to the neighborhoods and are answering the questions they might have about the project. We have presented to Samba, and we have become members of Samba, and they are officially in support of the project as well. We've been working from the very beginning with Juan Carlos Cancino of the OEWD, who is actually no longer with OEWD. He's transitioning into District 5 to help Supervisor Brown. But that is happening right now. He's still helping transition, but he's been working with this project from the very beginning and is very supportive of the project, especially given the unique challenges that part of Market Street has seen over the years. I think one of the other most unique aspects of the project, even though they are even though they are a retailer, an apparel retailer where you can buy sweatshirts or t-shirts or things of that nature, a lot of brands like that you would see wanting to be farther down in Union Square or on Powell or even in Westfield Mall, and not this far down on Market Street. Supreme is very different than that. They really appreciate and respond to the urbanness of this part of the street, and they really feel that authentic urban street life feeling that is what is on Market Street right here is very much who they are and what they're about, and they've been drawn. They would, quite frankly, never see them in a mall, and that's not who they want. That's not their customer, and that's not what they want to be. They really like this part of Market Street, this mid-market part of Market Street, and really want to be part of what's happening there. So I know that merchants so far have been very excited. Sometimes there's been a frustration of being difficult to find the right businesses that want to go on that strip of Market Street or that are the right fit for it as well. And so far they've been very excited about that. So those are the high-level basics of the project, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Yeah, less is more is two-way street on that word. So when you say less is more, what do you actually mean? Like less of the product or more of the price? Which one? What are you trying to say?
The less product. If you want, it's a very simple layout. These are, as you can see, this is just a rendering of what the store would look like. But there's not a lot of product in the store. They actually, which is part of why there's so few locations. They try to keep everything special. They only have rollouts twice a year. There's limited amounts of the items, and so it's not. So versus a place like a Gap, which would maybe have like their entire sales floor filled with product, this is less. You go in and there's just a few items that are pretty simple, and they always maintain a very classic, recognizable. If you've ever seen a Supreme shirt, it just is a white shirt with the red bars and Supreme.
Is it a high-end store?
I would say it's more high-end. There's definitely smaller items as well, things from like keychains and other types of smaller retail items, which are more attainable prices. But I would say because of the limited amount, in terms of even producing small amounts of items, that's inherently going to make them more expensive.
One more question.
Yeah.
Now, you have to be careful about what we still having, because you down here on 60, a lot of people will not come to the store for the purpose of shopping, but they will get something for nothing. Are you prepared to protect your store by way of cameras and everything else?
Yeah, safety at the store, at any of their stores, has always been a very high priority. I remember they started in 1994 in Manhattan. They have stores in the Bronx. They're familiar with neighborhoods where safety is always a concern, and they have, quite frankly, 2.5 decades of figuring out how to best prepare those stores for those things. And this store will have had the luxury of having the company figured out those processes in the past. And we've talked about that, and they're very aware of safety issues and feel very confident that they have over time, perfected the processes that are the most effective for them, both when the stores are open, but then also when the stores are closed as well. Absolutely.
Larry, is this going to have like a
That's
little skate park in?
So no, that is
going to be big enough to have that?
that is actual to size. Yeah, that is a sculpture, and you're right. It is inspired by what you would see if you were looking at the inside of a empty pool, which is a lot of skating culture sort of in the 70s. Started with empty pools. So that's what that sculpture is inspired by. It is taking up, and there's a similar sculpture in their store in New York, which is why it's inspired, why that's there. It's taking up, as you can see, sort of the back half of the space, which they're not going to be using for product. It's not usable in any way, and there's no way to get up to it. It's there as a, it's actually made of fiberglass.
That'll help get the skateboarders, some of the skateboarders off sidewalks and move them there.
Well, yeah, there's no skating in the store. There's no skating in the store, unfortunately.
One thing I wanted to ask is, have you thought about advertising over by the skate parks? A couple we have in the city.
To be honest, I don't think advertising for the skaters will be a problem. They seem very aware that we're coming, and they're very excited to be able to shop at the store. So they'll know.
I'm really excited about your store.
Great.
Have you thought about maybe putting a skateboard repair shop in?
You know, that's an interesting idea. I don't think that Supreme is in the business of skateboard repair. Are there not skateboard
I
repair
don't
shops
know,
in the area?
there's not down in this area.
Okay.
It's
There
just
may
a
be out
business
in the
model.
Amherst, not down that area.
Because you got a bike shop right next to you.
Right.
I think a lot of them take the skateboards there.
Huh.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Well, if that is the case, perhaps the existing shop will experience more business, which I think Supreme would be more than happy to be
We
able to.
should probably think about because
Oh, and if that's the case, I think that Supreme would be more than happy to be helping a local bike shop, for sure.
Excuse me a second, Michael. My other question is, when are you up to full planning?
So because we're in under 20 locations, we actually qualify for a slightly expedited process. As far as instead of 6 to 7 months, it's normally should be about 5, which means should be, if all things go as planned with our planner, we should have a hearing by the end of September. We've not been given that date yet, but that's when we're anticipating.
Let me give you my email, so you can email me the name of your planner.
Sure.
Marcus, can I?
Michael,
I just heard about this, but I affiliate with other business and community groups. I just need your business card because I don't have I need to communicate with you offline about the actual endorsements and get them for you.
Sure. I don't have my business card on me,
No,
but my
it's only
contact
because
information is
I
on the fact
I
sheet.
can understand, it's at a 1,000, what's that in the tone line? There's,
What's that?
okay, you have on this here, 101 Market Street, but then Marcus showed me something on Toma, so which is the place?
The Toma is not Supreme. I'm not sure if that's another skateboard related
Okay, well, I got
project.
a little confused.
1011 Market Street is this
Okay,
project.
and so my question here is about safety.
Mhm.
We have seniors and disabled people and other people we represent, but mainly those categories. We were afraid when the bicycles went on and the other things onto the sidewalk.
Scooter.
Yeah, I'm not going down the whole list, there's a whole bunch of them illegally. So can we request that you're, because then we be more positive about you, can we request that some sort of signage go, respect your neighbors and do not block the sidewalk?
I don't think that should be a,
Simple signage?
yeah, that shouldn't be a problem at all. We actually, during store hours,
This is something to say you've worked with the neighborhood about safety, that, cameras don't do anything.
Right.
It's the stuff that causes the physical impediment
Right.
for our residents when we try to get across your boundary.
right, so, yeah, I don't think that's a problem at all.
It's an easy fix.
Yeah.
It's a sign.
That's what I'm saying, is I don't think that a signage would be a problem at all.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Yeah, and during store hours, in order for crowd control, because they prefer to just keep a certain amount of people in the store based on the lack of a lot of product, there's always security folks that are at the store during store hours to help monitor that type of thing, to make sure that there's not people
Maybe outside?
loitering. Yeah, to make sure there's people not loitering outside, etc. So that's sort of an added
Yeah, because we have.
added safety measure.
And the other was, could I ask you to go to the Central Market CBD, because that's your actual business concern?
I've contacted them, and I've not gotten any response back.
Because
Yeah.
I help co-found it, so.
Sure.
I have a bias, making sure they're aware of things.
Yeah.
Because it's in their
Yep.
boundaries. Okay, that was the only other one.
Yeah,
And I'll
of course.
talk to you offline about the other ones, because I'll get the
Sure.
people.
And we're also actually next week going to be chatting with Soma Filipinas about how we can help partner with them and Soma Filipinas.
Oh, okay.
Just chatting with them. They seem very excited about the project as well, but how we can help partner with them moving forward and just help make the neighborhood a better neighborhood and see what ways that what
Where
their
do they
projects.
ask? Where do they need help from?
We've not even had a chance to talk
Oh,
about
okay,
it
because there are many other Filipino organizations.
yet. The OEW, totally, OEWD suggested, connected us with some of the Filipinos. Yeah.
Picking on one, but, okay, no problem. I don't want to hit one over the other. It's just that there were other, I was dealing with the community center and they were having hell at the time on Mission Street. When I wanted to go in there and have meetings there, they said, all these problems, and I go, you can't even tell me your offices would be open in 1 month. So I, started a deal there with trying to get meetings, make a commitment. But anyway, and it's sad to hear that, they go off and get an office and all that, and then they can't keep it open because the rents go up, and then they can't keep it going. Okay.
Any other questions?